Interesting.
I know. I'm just gonna have this going live then, because I'm just impatient today. Hey
That's
everybody,
fair.
it's June 19th, 2021. Welcome, Discussing Tabletop. We're gonna talk about some stuff. There's a docket in chat if you haven't checked it out, or down below in the description if you're catching this online. Today I just have a Momo joining me.
Hi.
So we do have some interesting things to talk about. They dropped a bunch of information about Magic Gathering Secret Layers. The only one that I felt like I wanted to talk about one is they did one with stuff from the D&D Saturday morning cartoon.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, they're doing art from it.
That's a weird one.
And it's it's not even custom cards. It's just alternate art from it, which is weird too.
God, I've seen reruns of this cartoon.
Yeah. Atlas Games is having a 5e compatible, I guess, Adventures of the Dinosaurs kind of campaign setting they're working on. There's a couple of Vampire the Masquerade books, a weird mini expansion for Pandemic, and I don't know what they're doing with these, and then a He-Man board game. So, some interesting things. Yeah. And then we'll get into our deeper discussions, which should be good. I want to start with this one here. So yeah, Secret Layers, had my opinion about them, had the opinion for over a year now.
Mm-hmm.
This one's just so weird. They have D&D.
Yeah. I don't understand.
Do they have the cartoon or not the cartoon enough? Because it's D&D, and it sort of is D&D, yet not D&D.
Does anyone really remember the cartoon?
I do, but not because I saw it when it was originally on. I saw it. I think Boomerang had it or something. For a while.
I think they did. Also, I will say I do like that Commander's Sphere is the dumb cartoon dungeon master. I think.
Yeah.
That's I do like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't really. I mean, I guess alternate card art, sure, but I don't know.
I just. It's just I look at this and I'm like,
really hitting the bottom of the barrel.
It feels that way. I feel like if they were going to make something, just make custom cards that are you're getting the art already, so for whatever, if you have the license for it, so that, because again, I don't know how licensing out something to a TV studio or an animation studio works exactly. I don't know who has control of it, but obviously
it depends on the contract. I think
obviously they have some kind of deal to use the art. Okay. Why not just make custom cards based on it? You're going to be doing a D&D set in a couple of months.
Yeah, why? These are just reprints.
Yeah.
From at least what I can see. So, I mean, I guess it's neat, but it doesn't feel like it should exist or needs to exist, or there's a point to it outside of the obvious point why it exists. Considering I just can look at these price points down here. For how much these are going to cost.
The price points are awful. They've always been awful on these things.
$30. Mm-hmm. Good, thanks.
Now, I think certain cards you could point out, and some of these times, versions of these cards can be pretty pricey. I think Primal Vigor is a pretty pricey card. I don't know if it's worth it with everything else, because I would have to break down and analyze how much just normal versions of these would cost.
Let's see.
I think I could probably point out probably Hero's Downfall. I think has a little bit of price. I don't know about any of the other ones.
Primal Vigor is $44.
Okay, so that's expensive.
That is a very expensive card. So, but it is $12 more expensive than getting non-foil of all of this, I guess. If you really want Primal Vigor,
that's a version of it.
Yeah.
See, that's the weird point, is sometimes they do that in these. They have reprints, which are those are good reprints for the price, so that you don't have to buy them individually. great.
What if, hot take, what if you just reprint cards regularly?
Yeah.
And destroy your horrible second market that makes the game almost unplayable for new people?
Wow. You'd think that would be something that they would actually concentrate on doing.
Right? Because the second market is... I've said my piece about the second market. It's disgusting and terrible.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's awful. It's awful. It fluctuates in such weird ways that, like, you do not know how it's going to be. Because, like, I knew, like 15 years ago, I bought a lot of rares and commons and like, uncommons and stuff to build some decks. And things were much more reasonable priced. And then they shot up again.
Yeah, because there was the Magic had a boom in popularity again.
Yeah, like there was there's these boom and busts in popularity that really like it makes the secondary market so insane, and
it's just like such an unstable market, and they don't do anything to counter it.
No,
but they're definitely aware it's a thing and a problem.
But they ignore it. They ignore it and pretend it doesn't exist. And like, granted, like if we're discussing the secondary market, like, there has been some better, much-needed reprints for various formats, like the current set that just came out, the was it like Modern Masters or something? Modern Horizons too.
Yeah.
It had the fetch lands at rare printing, and the fetch lands are very popular in Modern, Legacy, etc., all of, like Modern, Legacy, Vintage, Commander. You know, a lot of every format that they are legal in, they are incredibly popular because they are very useful for many decks.
Yeah.
This may drop their price a little bit from, like, I don't know, $60 a piece to, like, you know, well, now $30 a piece. Great. They're more affordable if you want a high-end deck.
I mean, the older versions are obviously probably going to always be a little bit more because they're older versions. They have the collectible to them.
Yeah.
But at least it won't be the only way to get them if you just do more reprints.
Yeah. So, like, I think the secret layers are both... sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad, and it's like it's hard to tell because it's sort of like it's a crapshoot whether or not they're choosing good cards or not. I don't... There's like a madness to the cards and stuff sometimes. And like, I looked at the rest of these and they have like like a certain artist, Spotlight, interesting, a couple of guest artists who I don't know who they are. Fiona Staples, the award-winning comic book artist. Okay,
I don't know who these people are. I don't really read comics.
And then Jen Bartle, who apparently like is another one, and then some stupid stuff.
Looking up at like the prices of some of these, and like they're not that expensive. Only like Primal Vigor looks to be the super expensive one, because like Unbreakable Formation, that's like 50 cents. Hero's Downfall, that's $2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the rest of them are just cheap, and it's just like that's the problem. It's like if you really like the D&D animated series, okay, you know, then maybe this is for you. But like, I don't know. I feel like there's...
I don't know if I would even put Primal Vigor in a deck. I mean, it looks like it could be useful to things I play, but I don't know if I care enough.
I have a few decks that can fit it, but Primal Vigor is just a reprint of Doubling Season with a different name, and I already own a few Doubling Seasons, and I think I own at least one Primal Vigor. So, like, I don't really need any more.
Like, I could see it being decent, and because I have a deck, or I had a deck that was specifically revolved around just cloning token creatures.
Yeah.
So making big fat tokens, and then I have another one of these, and I'm gonna slap you with it.
Like, I have a green token swarm deck. It's great in there because I can make swarms of tokens. The thing is, like, Doubling Season just works just as fine.
Yeah.
You know, it's an older card, but again, I have a couple of them. I got one when it was like $20. Doubling Seasons jumped up to being the same as Primal Vigor now, or something. You know, I don't know. It jumped a lot, and I was like, well, You know, it's really good. So that back at the time when it was $20, I'm like, that's still within my wheelhouse.
Tumbling season is $80.
Oh yeah.
Oh jeez.
That 15 years ago when I was buying it, it was only 20. It certainly has gotten a lot worse.
Man, I hate the secondary market so much.
It's terrible. It's sort of like...
Can you call me a Magic nerd when I haven't played in 6 years? So,
I mean, I'm definitely a Magic nerd. I can go like...
I haven't played the game in like
this box
6 to 7 years.
I have this box of Strixhaven here that's just floating around. I know. I was thinking of getting some Jumpstart because it's finally available in places
like,
down to
I'm
reasonable
tempted
prices.
to get back into it, but it's just so much money.
It's
For
not
like,
cheap.
No, it's not a cheap hobby, but barely any hobby is cheap these days.
The thing is, like, I'm a big collector, but there's certain points in time
you are
where
a collector.
I've said kind of no to, and like any of their premium stuff, anything that's like special, like arts, like promos and stuff, which I consider all these things promos. I'm like, I don't want them, you know, like, like fucking like Pokemon Go, which is another thing that I'm a big collector in. The shinies, I just have to keep catching shit, and I get those. You know, I don't have to spend extra money to get those. I have to spend extra money to get all this crap.
Yeah, you want these cards, it's $30.
I don't. I'd rather just have the copies of them from their sets, honestly.
Like, I look at this stuff, and then... Because I have my experience with Warhammer, which has an even worse market, because Warhammer's already expensive to start with, because they're miniatures. But the Warhammer secondary market, like, it's also pretty bad, because you can... Because, I'll be honest, it is nice to have a pre-painted mini, because it's less work I have to do. But yeah, I look at Magic and I look at Warhammer and I'm like, these are just too expensive for me now. Maybe in the future when I have money, but right now it's just too expensive, and it seems like it's only going to continue to get expensive.
Well, it's like, I got that box because I like building set decks.
Yeah.
I don't do them as often as nowadays, so I get behind on those. But, like, I will at some point build a Strixhaven-based deck. It'll probably be when it's out of standard, but whatever. I would like to have the complete set. But the problem is, I don't think I'm going to get it. Because I don't know about the prices.
God, yeah.
It's like people like to say, like, you know, you should buy singles. And I'm like, well, then can singles have a good price?
No, not allowed.
I'm just... But yeah, Secret Lairs, they're just... I mean, I'm not... It's that weird place where this one definitely has a good printing in it. This one. That's it. I can't say anymore. I don't know. I think we should move on because I'm just going to get more upset about this entire stupidity.
Just tell me when the D&D set comes out so I can vaguely know what's going on.
Yeah, hey, you know, that's, I think, next month at some point in time.
I can build a Driss deck. It's only Driss. That's it.
They have Driss in there, so I mean, of course you can do only Driss only.
Driss and his super friends. That's
Driss
my
and his
deck.
super friends, yes. Anyway, so Atlas Games is making a prehistoric fantasy for 5th edition. So it's supposed to be like, you know, I guess set farther back in the past kind of thing. And more dinosaur-driven and stuff.
I mean, I do like dinosaurs.
Yeah. I thought this was an interesting idea that they're doing. They're going to be doing a Kickstarter later this year, but it's an interesting thing to, like, throw out there and kind of announce.
It will be very interesting, having, like, a super early technology D&D.
Yeah.
Because
Like,
most 5e is like Renaissance.
Yeah. There's cursed painted caves of cannibal clans, mindless monstrous dragons that likely eat you, then look at you. Yeah, it's supposed to be like, there are no taverns or like anything like that, or libraries, hearths, castles, cathedrals. You're just in a primal land, and
that is interesting.
You're Throng, crusher of ancient dragons, fighter extraordinaire. We have Bone Sword.
Why have Bone Sword when you can have Stick?
Stick create magic. Me create fire from magic fire stick.
Stick very good.
I just, it's just like, it'd just be so silly, I think, too, It's
when you think about it, every weapon is just a form of stick, right?
That's true. Every weapon is a form of stick. Part of me just really likes that idea of it just being just a little bit silly that way.
Yeah. You're not gonna have a great sword. Those didn't exist.
No.
Those would be hard to make.
You'd have like a stone axe or like a bone spear or something,
I'll play another monk. Nothing will change for me. That's what'll happen.
Yeah, I mean, like,
I'll just play another monk.
You'd be less like, like, wah, and more like, punch.
Instead of key, it's my anger.
No, you're more manacle.
Yeah. I really want
to. You've embraced the power of manacle.
Embrace the power of. I really just want to punch this dude.
I mean, look, it's got like ghost dude, woman with magic fists punching like I guess that's either an Allosaur or a small T-Rex, and then like, I think that's supposed to be a dwarf with a bone axe or something, or at least someone.
I'll play my fifth wood elf monk. That's what I'll do.
Oh.
I have a type of character I like to play, and usually it's either one that does half magic or punches people.
Mm-hmm. Good times. I thought that was a really interesting announcement. I'm actually like, this is definitely because
this seems very silly, and I can get into it.
It does seem silly, but it's also like I was thinking about it too, and I'm like, they haven't really gone that direction ever.
No
one really goes like.
I mean, dinosaurs are in the monster manuals and the bestiaries, but no one really uses them because they don't fit anything.
Yeah. It's like sometimes you have like a Lost Valley, or it's like it's Chult in Faerun, where they're like, oh, there's dinosaurs in Chult. We're like, well, we have to go visit Chult to find them,
Yeah, then we gotta go have a dinosaur adventure.
Yeah, it's like, if I'm not in Chult, I'm not gonna have dinosaurs,
This is my one chance to punch a T-Rex.
I think in Galarian they have them in the Mwangi Expanse sometimes or something too, because it's supposed to be like primordial jungles,
Yeah.
Aw, Lightning's not gonna give us dinosaurs.
Damn.
I feel saddened.
I can't believe you're not gonna give Viren the chance to punch a dinosaur.
I mean, I just picture Kelmer wrestling it then, like just getting it in a headlock and like noogieing it or something. Big lizard, really, friend.
That'll happen when we hit the time travel portion of the campaign. Oh no, yeah. Oh no, Robo could turn into just a T-Rex. Oh no.
That'd be so silly.
Or anyone with polymorph can do it. Although you are still as smart as a T-Rex, which is not very smart.
No. So yeah, they call it a Planegea, I guess. I guess it's supposed to be like Planet Pangea, but weird.
I kind of hate it, but it's got dinosaurs, and I like dinosaurs.
Look, people name a lot of things, and they are oftentimes bad.
Usually, yeah. I mean, fucking in my game is a volcano called Mountain Vengeance, so.
I mean,
it's just a dumb name.
I would accept Mount Vengeance. It seems silly.
I mean, like, there's Mount Doom in Lord of the Rings, and there's Death Mountain, so why not?
Yeah. Alright. Well, we do have some Vampire 5e books that have come out. One of which I'm like, is it a reprint? And the other one I'm like,
I keep seeing it advertised on Roll20 for some reason.
Yeah, like, okay, so Book of Nod. There's been a printing of it before.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be honest about that one. What are they doing differently? It's a fox leather bound with silver foil, gilded praise, red blood ribbon. I mean, loaded with legacy art from the original printing. So it is just a reprint, effectively.
If you're into, like, if you like that book, I guess you could get like a fancier version of it if you really wanted to.
The first one was fancy.
Was it fancy?
It was just as fancy. It's also faux leather front.
The only Vampire the Masquerade book I've seen is the anniversary one that looks really ugly. That's the only one I've seen.
Like, I will look at this Book of Nod that they're charging $50 for, and it looks exactly like the original. I'll put this in. I'll link this in chat here for Lightning to check out if he wants to, or anybody else. That is
on a whim. I spelled it like Command and Conquer, and yeah, that is the spelling.
Yeah.
It's like a nice looking book, I guess, but
it has.
Would I pay for it? No.
God,
I don't know Vampire the Masquerade as much as I should. I mean, I've only played the video games, so. And I've watched some of the stream, and that's the extent of my knowledge. And I've heard 5th edition is bad.
5th edition is bad. Again, like 5th edition, the system I think is really bad. Some of the stuff they added in the lore-wise, I like. Other things I don't like. Which is the other book we're going to talk about is one of the books that I'm like, this is the stuff I really don't like. How are they making this worse than what they already have established? But anyway, Book of Nod. I think I have a copy of it actually, because I got a bunch of older books. Because my brother could get them from one of our local game stores, which no longer exists.
Unfortunate.
For a relatively decent price.
Mm.
And he got a bunch of books for those because they were sold decently. Which this brings up a side thing, of pricing, because I forgot something I was going to say about the Magic cards, that they got rid of the MSRP for Magic cards, which fucking sucks. That was the worst idea they've ever done. Anyway, Book of Nod. I guess because they don't have prints of it anymore, but like I feel at this point in time, like having an older copy of it is the thing you'd want to do if you're going to be like, I'm fancy.
You would want the older one because it kind of has value because it's old, and then maybe the collector would want it.
Yeah,
and you can just be like, look, I have this old book.
And if you need it for something, just get a goddamn PDF.
Yeah. Although that website gets yeeted quite a lot, so.
I mean, you might be able to find a PDF just legally online somewhere. Honestly,
they probably sell a PDF, or at some point did, or you could probably find one somewhere.
Yeah,
but
I just don't know if they've done enough different to make it.
I'll also be honest. I wouldn't put this on a shelf because it's a black book, which looks boring. So I wouldn't display this on a shelf because it looks kind of boring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the other thing that they just put out is they're starting their pre-orders for their second Inquisition book, which I'm like, great. So all the worst of the shit that I don't like, you're putting out books for.
It seems like, from what I've heard, they're going in a direction that I wouldn't want to play personally.
No,
because when I think of vampires, I think of the more political aspect and the world, and not this personal struggle of your inner self and losing yourself to vampires. I don't think of that. I think of all the politics and the consequences of such things.
And they're getting rid of a lot of the politics because they're like, there's a second Inquisition going on. Ooh, the politics is in the second background. Oh no, humans.
That's not what I want from a game.
No. I don't mind the idea of that, maybe a group of humans or organizations found out about vampires and is going against them. But again, it's the thing is, the way they display the Second Inquisition is it seems completely insane.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're someone in the United States government finds out about it.
Yeah.
And they connect up with the vampire hunting squads which still exist in the Vatican to create a second Inquisition that actually threatens vampires effectively.
Right. So effectively, you have vampire hunting XCOM.
Yeah.
That's kind of dumb.
The Vatican forces, I give you that they've been doing it. They've always been a threat. The religious people. There's hunters in this universe that have always been a threat. maybe the Vatican group is a little bit more organized, but they're not going to be that big. It's the goddamn Vatican, and they've lost a lot of power.
America's not going to tell anyone shit if they find out vampires exist.
Yeah, okay.
The one country you pick, it's not going to be the one to do it.
And they're like, I think it was like either the CIA or NSA or something found out about it, and I'm like, they're going to be so bad at doing stuff. The bureaucracy of the United States is just terrible at this kind of thing.
God, you have to go through so much red tape to do anything.
Especially if they're keeping it secret, you know? Like, I think it's like, you know, like, they're like, oh, you know, they're doing operations where they're like, oh, this is totally just terrorists that we're dealing with. And I'm like, then why do we have these wooden stakes and, like, silver bullets and all this crap and, like, holy things? And I'm like, you know, why aren't the field agents questioning this shit? It's so stupid!
Oh my god. Like, I could see, like, an X-Files style organization doing it, or, like, a branch, but, like, the way it's described does not sound like that.
The way it's described sounds like huge, you know, and like a threat constantly, and I'm like, I think what it should be is, it's not like a constant threat. It should be like, just like you don't want to draw attention of like normal hunters from like Hunter the Requiem, the supernatural empowered humans, you know.
Yeah.
You don't want to attract their attention electronically or something like that, you know. These are the people that be watching, you know, like on the cameras and stuff like that a lot more, and might notice things on that side. So it makes sense to still be like cautious about shit. Like if I'm on a phone call, I'm not gonna be like, like oh yeah, I had some great blood, you know. You're probably gonna be like, you're gonna watch what you say and the way you say it. It's like keep the real talk in real life, and, you know, say the stuff, you know. But like the way they fucking show it off is just so, God,
it feels wrong. Kind of the way I'm hearing of it and reading, it feels wrong.
Yeah, like
it feels like someone's like, this is a cool idea, I want to use it, but the idea doesn't like fit what vampires is, kind of.
Yeah, it's the witch hunters from the Society of Leopold and the NSA. Those were the ones that came together. Mm-hmm. And it's the united might of these forces overwhelmed the undead. Really?
I somehow doubt that, but alright.
Yeah, like, I just read this stuff here and I'm like, this just seems ridiculous. It seems ridiculous. It seems like so out there, and I'm like, I just can't take it seriously. And I'm really, like, it's like 5th edition is going down this rabbit hole of, like, this was what happened when people switched to fucking Chronicles, when they went from normal World of Darkness to the new World of Darkness, which is now Chronicles of Darkness. Mm-hmm. They lost a lot of people. Now, granted, newer people who didn't know anything different, they started with it. And if you start with something, you can like it. Honestly. Yeah. Like, if people now start with 5th edition, they're going to think of Vampire as the game that it is now, which, it's not a bad type of game. It's just not, like... It's not a traditional vampire game.
Yeah, it's very non-traditional.
It's not even traditional vampire media is the problem.
No, it's not what it seems like.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the Hunger Dice stuff as well. That's something I've also heard is like bleh.
Hunger Dice are awful, from what I've read up on them. I haven't dove 100% in depth. I've driven like 75% in depth. You know, I've read through some of it. I've talked to some other people about it. They're awful. They're just terrible.
Yeah.
There are plenty of people that were new to Vampire that were turned off of it because of the Hunger Dice.
I feel like, because the way I understand it is they're just in every dice roll, and I feel like they should be separate, because like you should have kind of more control over this. You have, unless you're like a super new boy vampire, like you should probably have a bit of control over your hunger.
But you're going to use a vampire power. Roll the Hunger Dice. You're going to do something that might get you hungry. Roll the Hunger Dice. You know,
it's too much. It's too much unnecessary rolling.
Yeah, they're just... It's just bad, and I'm really, really kind of angry that they're doubling down on the Second Inquisition and this shit too. It kind of makes me just upset with the system they've built and the people that are doing it. I'm like, this is terrible. I'm sorry, anybody that likes V5. If you like V5 out there, please explain to me why. If you like the type of vampire game it builds, that's a good reason. You know?
Yeah, I can see like liking the inner struggle aspect, but you can still do that in a traditional one. It doesn't have to be integral to the mechanics.
V20, which I tout, it has issues with that. You can bring those to the forefront all you want. I'm gonna admit, like, if I wanted to, I could have more of that in Legacies of Kain. Legacies of Kain was never about the inner struggle, though. It was about the politics and dealing with vampire history.
Mm-hmm.
That was the story I wrote. You know, they're dealing with stuff that's related to their own history. They're related to the politics that's going on them constantly, and they're having to navigate through those. Those are their struggles that they have. They have a little bits of those inner struggles that pop up here and there, but that wasn't never the point of my story and the story we built.
Like, if an inner struggle comes up, that should be on, in my opinion, on the player wanting it to, not having it be like the main central theme. That's how I think that should be run in this system.
Yeah, but anyway, so let's talk a little bit about these like weird. I didn't even hear about the first one of these. It's a pandemic like mini game.
A mini game.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So they had pandemic. This is like almost like one of those things that like I see this and I'm like, are they going the route of like something like Ticket to Ride and going regional? Because they had like their unique like pandemic hot zone North America. So they're another hot zone Europe.
Yeah, I think that's actually kind of like that's not a bad way to do it, because I mean, most pandemics are local. It typically doesn't get to global scale.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's like they're $20 a piece. You can combine the hot. They say the hot zones you can combine together, so you could play like I'm guessing like the events, the characters, the special cards and stuff, combined together and stuff like that. What do you mean? Is it an expansion? Oh, you could play it on its own.
Yeah, it's
These
like
things...
It's like more like an optional add-on rather than like a mechanical expansion.
Think of this as like, now this is a weird thing to say. They at one point did normal Munchkin, and then for stupid reasons they did a Munchkin Light.
Yeah.
Munchkin Light was terrible, but it's the same concept that like these hot zones are supposed to be light versions of Pandemic.
Which I mean, that could be like a cool way to play it, I guess. Just like again, that is more accurate to the nature of a pandemic.
Yeah, no, and like again, combining.
It's also not too expensive.
They've got like more like mutation cards and interesting things in there. Like it looks like it's an interesting way of taking Pandemic that like I was glad to learn about, because again, like the first one, just I don't know if I talked about it ever. It might have slipped by. Pandemic Hot Zone North America. Not sure.
I'm gonna look at the map. How many cities are on here? There's a fair amount of cities.
Yeah.
On the Europe one. The American one is lacking because, I mean, it looks like maybe 4 Canadian cities mentioned. And once again, this is not a big deal ever, but much like the Ticket to Ride board, just from glancing at this, it looks like several of them are in the wrong spot. Also, just slightly.
If you're going to do North America, it's more than just Mexico and
the U.S.
Yes.
In the continental U.S. Yeah.
And I'm sorry, yes, maybe the majority of the Canadian population is on their southern side. It doesn't.
Edmonton, which is like it's pretty north.
See, that's one that you can use as an exception. Why isn't there an Edmonton? Because no one thinks about it. I got to be honest on that one.
No one thinks about Edmonton.
You know, like the main like Canadian cities that I would like Ottawa, Quebec, Toronto, Vancouver. They're all on the border. Those are the ones I like. That I, as an American, have known about. You know.
Yeah, those are like the ones you kind of think about.
Again, like it's also like most. It's an unfortunate thing that I think, if you're not in that country, most places you can only name a few of. Like, there are some states I might be able to name one city if I remember its capital.
I live in America, and I remember nothing about this country in the cities that exist here. I can name maybe like half of the states. Maybe if I try hard enough. The rest, no, I'm not going to be able to point those out on a map.
I could probably name all the states. Capitals, a good chunk of them. More other cities in those states, except for Pennsylvania, not that many. Like, you know, like Northeast, where I've been around here, I could probably do.
I could do the Northeast pretty easily. I mean, I live here,
you know, like
so.
you know,
I live here and I travel here.
Yeah, I travel enough to go to places that I could. But even as soon as I get to Ohio, I think I've been close to Ohio, but never technically been to Ohio. Beyond Cincinnati, I don't know any, and that's just because of like wasn't there a TV show about Cincinnati that I remember the name of it then? Something, I don't know.
Possibly. I mean, you're not missing much not going to Ohio. It is very empty.
But regardless, yeah, not enough cities in North America. I guess they're better in Europe. Yay.
Yeah, the Europe one looks like it has a lot more.
Mm-hmm. So, but anyway, still, mini pandemic games. It's neat. It's a cool thing to have. Yeah.
I'm just looking at this. This is amusing. There's no London on the UK, but there's an Edinburgh.
They've decided that London's not good enough anymore. They're like,
there's no,
you know what?
London's not on here, but the capital of Scotland is. I think that's the capital of Scotland.
Yeah. Yep. So, God, they've got a countdown timer on this one, which is just weird, until the Kickstarter launches. It's Masters of the Universe, Fields of Eternia, which is... This... I look at this and I'm like, what is this game for?
This is a game board.
It is a game board, yeah. It's like, I feel like it's like a strategic adventure one. It reminds me of
It's got miniatures.
Yeah, what game does it remind me of? There was a game that Joe owns that I'm trying to think of the name of it. That again, like, that's just my terrible memory, and maybe I can see tabletop. I might have.
I mean, if I can roleplay as Skeletor, I'll be happy.
I'm not remembering it. Oh, board game. No, that's my board game.
Is there any information on this thing?
There's very little.
There's a picture and then a countdown.
Yeah, it's sort of like... this is one of those things that I'm like... this is like one of the things that I think is like... I think...
Go into the more footage.
Talking about this more is more like we can speculate, but this is like the interesting like.
Yeah, there is a more information page on a different website.
Okay, do you have a link?
I linked it in Discord because I can't do that in chat.
Okay, let me just.
Okay, there's miniatures. Choose a faction, each with unique abilities and aspirations. This still doesn't really say what kind of game it is.
Yeah.
Complete mission, take control of key locations. So it's like a board control with He-Man characters. And I don't know how many factions there are in He-Man. I've never watched He-Man.
It looks as though there's like at least 2 colors of groups, so I mean, like, maybe the players split. Like, it reminded me of another type of game entirely, but it looks as though they're more like one side versus another, you know. Is it 2-player? Is it even players?
It doesn't say number of players here.
This is solely badly described.
I mean, there's He-Man, Skeletor, She-Ra, Man-at-Arms, Beastman. So they've got the characters. I do know the characters, at least.
Yeah.
I mean, I would be shocked if they didn't have He-Man in a He-Man game.
That's true. I mean, like, if you didn't, that's definitely, like, a shocking.
Yeah, you messed up.
I have to, like, look close. I can't see anything in this picture if I look close. I am so blind. Like, this is a weird hype. You know, like, this is what I kind of stumbled upon, the concept of, like, it used to be that, like, you know, it's just that, like, hey, our Kickstarter's out, you know, go support it, that's our way, and then they formally release it. Now we take another step back and they're like, we're going to be releasing a Kickstarter at this time, you know, okay, I get you, you're planning it out. Now it's like, we have this preview page on a couple different places where you can learn about it, but the Kickstarter's not coming for quite a while. We're not really talking about it.
The next step is what the game industry does, and you have an announcement that you're going to announce something on this date that'll announce a countdown.
Fuck, you're right. Why are they learning this? The game industry... Look, board game industry, stop it. Bad. Don't make me get the spray bottle.
I think it is a battle game, so that's neat. But I kind of want to know how many players.
I'm going to get the spray bottle and squirt you. You know that's going to happen now.
Oh my
You're
God.
like a bad cat. You're like looking into. You see the glass that like the other cat of the video game industry has already knocked their glass off the table.
Yeah.
You're like, I can do that too. And we're like, no, bad kitty.
The one cat has knocked it onto the table, and the other has just shoved it off the table and shattered it.
Yeah. Bad tabletop industry kitty. Bad. I don't know, but
Warhammer does it all the time, where they will announce an announcement that they have an announcement. Warhammer does it so much.
Oh God. I mean, like, I gotta be honest. Like, my time period in the '80s was past He-Man. I think it was technically in reruns during some parts of my childhood.
I mean, I've seen some of the She-Ra show on Netflix. It's like alright. But I don't have a connection to
Let me put it this way. My previous knowledge of both He-Man and the original She-Ra, that is the farthest from it that could possibly exist, yet still be seemingly connected to it in a way by the fact that it has some similarities. This was the era of, this show is just basically made to sell toys.
Yeah, that was what the 80s was.
It was...
To a lesser degree, the 90s.
Post-Reagan, pre-FCC actually, like, stepping in and being like, wait a second.
You have to have a plot.
It's like, you have to have a plot. It doesn't have to be much of a plot.
You can't just do a 30-minute commercial.
Mm-hmm. They're like, look at, like, Transformers. At least it has a plot, you know?
Yeah, and, like, Power Rangers, which was just advertising the toy.
Yeah, like, Power Rangers at least had some plot. It's not great plot, but, like, that's what they had. But, like, yeah, like, He-Man... Oh, there's some episodes that are just like, And I will say this, which is the silliest thing. None of their morals of the story, like, match with the episodes a lot of times. You know, it'll be like, this episode about, like, you know, the one character getting into the abuse of, like, some kind of substance to get them stronger because they didn't feel good enough, you know, or something like that. And then rather than going into a PSA about drugs, they're like, you know, depression is bad. It's like, what was this about the story? There was nothing about what happened.
It's just...
Look,
it's a wild time.
I may have rewatched a few episodes, like, a decade ago when a friend of mine found the box set of every episode in a Walmart for $10. And was like, we have to watch some of these. And I was like, we don't, but sure, you know.
Man, yeah. I don't know. I just want to know how many players it is, because I didn't see, like, a player number.
Yeah, that's the thing, is they don't say enough about it. They just...
I mean, I'm not against it.
Like,
because it does seem like a board control / battle game, because, I mean, there are points of control on the map, but at least from the small picture, that's what it looks like.
I feel like previews normally have at least a little bit more information, and this one just feels so void for how close it is. For being, you know, a month and a little bit away. Like, if I was going to talk about some of those other ones that are like, oh, these are coming to Kickstarter, they will at least give a little bit basic information, you know. They usually say, like, something about, like, the game, or, you know, sometimes they have, like, things that, like, you can look at that gives you a little bit of information. Some are as bad as this, but this one seems very bad.
Yeah, it just had a weird press release with not enough information.
Yeah, I want to know more because I'm just, like, interested. And I understand this is a good time to have this because isn't, like, I think it was Kevin Smith was doing that He-Man show that actually showed off, like, a trailer or something, too.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's relevant, so...
Mm-hmm.
That at least gives it a bonus over, like, most licensed stuff.
Will that be good? I don't know. But it will exist.
I don't know if I like He-Man enough to buy a board game, I'll be honest. So I've never seen He-Man.
I don't think He-Man's ever been great. It's sort of like there are certain licenses that I can talk about that started in the 80s where I can say, like, yeah, there have been some good versions of it. Like the original Transformers, as campy as it is, I like the original.
Fun.
Yeah. The original Thundercats was actually pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not really any of the remakes after that, but they've tried. The He-Man one, I don't really think the original was great. I don't really think they've had a really great remake post there so far. The best thing is the one that She-Ra got. And that was, you know, the one on Netflix, which is pretty popular.
Yeah, I've watched a little bit of it. It's not bad.
Yeah.
That's about all I can say about it. It's not bad.
It's not bad. If it's your kind of thing, great. You know? I even think, like, if it's not your kind of thing, it's not bad. You know? Yeah. That's the thing about it, is, like, sometimes that's all we have to ask for.
That's what you get with that. On a good day, that's what you get with Netflix, because everything else is probably garbage. They just release so much garbage at Netflix.
They release a lot of garbage. But yeah, as much as I like to talk about more weird 80s cartoons and stuff, which there was a lot of them.
Yeah, it was the 80s were a time, and then the 90s tried to be the 80s.
But they had more rules then, so they couldn't quite do it the same.
They couldn't quite do it.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're back to trying. Now we're trying to be the 90s at this point.
That's not good. It's not good. Like, I have to admit, 2000s. It's good to skip over those. You know, the 2000s were like, we're gonna do this crazy.
Yeah, we can forget about the 2000s.
The 2000s was like our version of the 60s when it came to like animation and stuff.
We got some decent things out of it.
But they also tried a lot of like weird mind-altering shit and experimented with some things that were just not great.
I mean, we did get 3 really good fantasy movies from the 2000s.
I mean,
we got Lord of the Rings.
Yep, Lord of the Rings trilogy was a good one. That's something. And I probably could point out some things like in like honestly like in various like forms of like animation media that were probably still good. But
I feel like the weird stuff they do now almost kind of works because of the way our stupid humor has evolved.
Certainly there are some shows that I would say like, oh, well, you know, I would like to, I liked that was great, you know, like there are things like I really enjoyed, you know, Gravity Falls. That's like an animation that like was good that you could like as a kid or an adult, you know. And I think we had a lot more of that kind of stuff back in the 80s and stuff sometimes. Like certain 80s, 90s, there was more stuff that I feel like had that reflection, you know, like, you know, you could probably watch it with the family. You know, something like Batman the Animated Series and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I could still go back and watch those. You know, those are, you know, they're classics. But anyway. Yeah, the more mind trip. Here's your Ellis Dacer. Enjoy the show. That was probably the 60s and 70s. I'm sorry. Like, anything Hanna-Barbera had was like,
always,
you know...
like, in entertainment, there's always that weird couple, like, decade of just... It doesn't work 90% of the time.
Anyway. So, yes, let us talk about, let's see here. My brain is farting.
What else
Docket,
is on
main
this
topic?
docket?
Well, that's the end of the normal
Okay.
docket. Except for the Strixhaven mages, but neither of us looked over them.
I forgot to read it.
I'll
doing
throw
other
that
stuff.
off yet to another week. Yeah, like Adventure Time, Gravity Falls, Avatar, Legend of Korra were good in the last decade or two. Things like that.
Yeah. I mean, Avatar: The Last Airbender is like one of the greatest TV shows from the 2000s. So
Mm-hmm. Yep.
the one with Star People. That's is that Steven Universe? Is that the Star People or the Gem People or whatever?
Yeah. Steven Universe.
I didn't watch that. I've only seen people talk about that one.
Yeah. So, anyway, let's, though, I guess, hit up our deeper discussion. Because it's
Kind of relevant.
It's kind of relevant. Because we had an end to a game this week, and we were going to have an end to another game that was an actual proper end, but we put it off a week.
We did. Ending is weird a lot of the time.
Endings come in, I think, 3 forms. There is the proper ending, where you have a resolution of the story. There is the life changes and you just can't play the game anymore.
That's the one I've had the most.
I've had a lot of that, too. That, something happens life-wise, and you can't play the game anymore. And then there's the, which I've had a couple times in the last few years, the game should just die.
I've had a few of those. Most of my games have the, well, we can't really play anymore because life happens and things like that. That's fine.
Yeah.
There's always no hard feelings at the end of that. No one feels too bad about the story usually.
Yeah, I mean,
or things like that.
The thing about that type of game is usually that, either your GM will hastily put together something if they know it's going to end. They hastily put together an ending, which is
maybe it's not the most satisfying thing, but you still get kind of a resolution.
Or if something happens and then you can't, and you're like there's a couple of games that I always talked about getting back to and then never did because someone went off to college for 4 months or 5 months, and when they came back, well, we started playing something else in the meantime, and so it's you can join this.
We took a break, but our side game kind of became the main game.
Yeah. Yeah, and so that's happened a few times for me. The original game that was based on that Madness of the Land became, which that is a game that we can talk about. My original version of that I did back in the day, that's why it kind of ended. It just sort of got to this point in time, and granted there was some weird story crap at the end. I'm gonna say that because the weird story crap that I did back then, I think I made the logical step away from when I was going to do Madness. We just never got to that point in time, unfortunately. They got just a little. Actually, Madness was very close to ending the exact same spot. Strangely enough, that's a weird thing to say, that both of them as different versions of the campaign, very evolved campaigns, but I know there's some campaigns that fall apart because they you don't get a lot of sessions of it, and there's always some kind of problem or something, so you don't really get into it. It's
I've had a few. I've had 2 of those actually. They kind of fell apart because they weren't played enough, and then I just personally couldn't get into them.
Yeah. It's interesting that I can say there's a couple of game campaigns that I tried to do, and I didn't get very far in them just because things went awry. I back in 3rd edition, I tried to do, using Savage Species rules, an evil monster campaign, where the forces of good were threatening, a kingdom of evil, So it was kind of the reverse, it was evil monster kingdom, and good heroes were coming to threaten them. So you were those chosen to go fight them or something. and I also tried my like 1,000 Armies of Darkness, and that was an epic level campaign. I blame one player for that kind of falling apart, just because.
That's what I can blame one of my 5e games for, is on
Yeah.
one player doing something so stupid that it kind of ruined a lot of everything that no one wanted to play after that.
To summarize, one of them used a very high level, a 9th level druid spell that does some damage over a geographical region. They assumed the castle they were in was not part of the geographical region. I'm like, it is. It was built in the region. Yes, you killed a lot of the armies that were outside of this place in the geographical region, but you also devastated this town. And also murdered a lot of people, but long story short, he had a way of resurrecting a whole bunch of them, so he went and did that, you know. He was resurrecting a bunch of people. Anyway, in the meantime, one of the characters decided he's going to steal the treasury from these people who just had their castle destroyed and their town destroyed utterly.
Yeah, that seems fine.
Oh, yeah, no.
Doesn't seem like anything can go wrong there.
Oh, no. I was like, there's this hallway that is obviously filled with traps that was set up as like a latch-ditch effort, you know. And you just walk down that, hit every trap. He lived through all of them, got down to the bottom, and I'm like, what are you doing? And then like, I was like, and he got to the end of this place, and I'm like, this area was still kind of destroyed. They found the treasure, which had been like hit with damage and was like melted together as a giant like pile. I'm like, all the gold's melted together. It's a big pile. All the jewels are sticking out of it. He's like, I'm just gonna steal the pile of gold that was their treasury.
Okay. Good. What's your strength? Carrying this thing out? You got a real big bag of holding?
A sorcerer. It was 8. Fuck him. But, you know, it's stuff like that like sometimes you get into a campaign and the campaign just doesn't work, you know?
No.
I think, like, if we're taking examples of, like, endings, I've had at least one game recently that has had a really good ending, and that was, well, a good enough ending. Grinding Gears. We got to an ending. It was a good ending. There were some issues with the game, you know, and some of the pacing and stuff, but it was the kind of thing that we needed that ending because of the schedules and stuff. Like, you know, one of our players, who was, like, actually one of the main story people, had to take months off to, like, help a new baby and, you know, like, wife giving birth and stuff, and, like...
Yeah, that's fair. Completely fair.
Considering that I just started doing stuff with him a few months ago, when he was like, okay, my life is stable again, I can do stuff. If we'd taken a break in Grinding Gears, we never would have gone back to it. I'm going to tell you on that.
No,
you know?
probably not. I can think of a few, like, off the top of my head, I can think of 2 games that had, like, a satisfying ending or a good enough ending. My very long Shadowrun game had actually a pretty good ending. We stopped the evil bads from doing what they were gonna do, which was they wanted to launch nukes everywhere because they were evil shitty people. And I think this is like an ending I actually like because it kind of involved me quite a bit. Me, my big dumb orc man, and my gnome best friend were like, okay, we had like that action movie of, oh god, there's a countdown, we have to stop it. And we were like, okay, how do we stop it? We're gonna blow up the control center because we're dumb and we don't know how computers work. And we're like, okay, you guys, we'll put these here, you guys leave and we'll buy time. And then we couldn't get out, so we just blew up the base while everyone else escaped. So we did a big heroic sacrifice. And then I did the epilogue campaign as a different character. I got to go to my own funeral.
Wow. But I guess that would be like, if you have the epilogue campaign, you're like, I'm an old friend of this person, I'm here to like finish their thing, you know?
Here to finish the job. And yeah, so that was a satisfying ending. And then my good enough ending was I had like an old 5e game where it got to like level 6, and then something stupid had happened that a player did, and then we were just like, okay, that character goes off and does stupid things, and then the rest of us retire with our local fame.
Mm-hmm. I think, like, other than Grinding Gears, I've only had one game where I can really say, like, the ending was good. And a proper ending. And that was, like... Because we got close to endings a lot of times, you know? But, like, I can name a couple of games that, like, we got to, like, the unsatisfying kind of, like, rushed sort of story ending just because something happened, you know, right at the end, you know? And then, like... There was, like, another one where, like, we got to, like, the kind of finale kind of area, and then halfway through the finale, we had to stop for reasons. Now, granted, I'm going to say that finale was not the direction I would have taken at all. I was forced into it by one of the other players who showed up half the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, someone who wasn't even there the entire time forced the point, which kind of sucked.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That campaign was, we were adventuring in the abyss because we were fighting Loth. We had a way of defeating Loth, an artifact, and Loth kidnapped, like, our parents or something, you know? You know, and because we were the children of a previous group of adventurers from one of our other games, you know, kind of thing.
It's one of those kind of deals.
Yeah. So we ended up in the middle of the abyss, and we're doing shit that was just crazy and new, and it was awful too. And, like, there was a point in time, because we were sailing, and we were, like, had to, like, go to, like, all the ocean levels and stuff, and we got to a point in time where, like, oh, hey, you know, we can't take our boat here. What are we going to do about it? And someone's like, you can do this to your boat. And I'm like, what does that do? Just do it. And then, like, the boat shrinks.
Oh my god.
At that point in time, I'm like, my character just thinks he just killed everybody on the boat.
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't he? And they're like, oh, no, they're fine. I'm like, how would I know?
Yeah. Oh my god.
My sister was aboard there.
Oh god.
You know how my character is going to be fucked up from this?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And that was so bad, that campaign. I'm sorry. It was just, that ending was terrible. And we didn't even end. It was going to be a terrible ending. We didn't even end.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I feel like having no endings sometimes is better than sometimes some shit endings. Like,
because sometimes you can tell it's going in a direction you don't like. Like, the game I was in recently, it was going in a direction that is kind of was meh. I wasn't a big fan of it.
Yeah.
And then we ended in the middle of the arc because I had to fuck off and go do life things. And I'm like, it's fine. I would have just been mad at the normal ending probably anyways.
It's like the two games that, now with one this week, that had, like, I just had to sit down and be like, this game has to end. I can't do it anymore, and I've got to, like, tell the players, you know, like, it's sort of like, and this wasn't even scheduling. This was just, we had to end the campaign, which those are the hardest to do.
Yeah.
Because
I'm assuming the one you're talking about is one I'm aware of.
The other one,
I'm assuming it's that one.
It's Madness and the one and Carrion Crown now.
Yeah, I'm assuming that is one of them.
Madness, unfortunately, because of Madness, is like there were two main issues on my side that I could definitely say that I pointed out that I'm like, these are issues that I allowed to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, one of the main ones was I was too beholden to what I had written. Mm-hmm. It's sort of like being too beholden to a pre-made adventure. Mm-hmm. It was too beholden to stuff I had written ahead of time. And it became an issue so many times. And it also... It worked on things like consistency and stuff like that. And the game had consistency issues, which are a killer in a game.
Yeah, they really are.
Happen in Carrion Crown. Like, I have to say, like, I don't know, like, if there's no character that was there at the beginning that was there at the end. None of them. The first group of characters, kind of... No, granted, not everybody died. Some of them retired to in town. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't help because it's like you either want to build in that ability to have that switch out, or not have it at all.
Yeah.
And I didn't build in to have that switch out. Like, I've got ideas now if I'm going to redo Madness, like some ways that'll improve it a lot. And the other thing is, like, I didn't allow people to, like, learn the local language of, like, these creatures, which would have helped a lot in a lot of situations, you know, and given other options and stuff, you know, like diplomacy possibly, you know, things like that. But, you know, there a lot of issues. They built up. They got to a point in time where I was just like, we're beating a dead horse. And it was unfortunate that, to summarize what happened in Carrion Crown ahead of time, because it's related to this topic, this Wednesday in Carrion Crown, as we were playing it, I had probably the worst boss battle I have ever had.
God.
Ever had. See, like, now, this is something I forgot about ahead of time, that I would have given the option for, stupidly, but it's an option. Back in the day, for people with familiars, this is evil and cruel, and it wouldn't have worked on a witch, I gave people the option, if you failed a death save, to have your familiar take it for you. That was the original time I played Carrion Crown, with people having death effects, where we only ended up with one's pet bird when he was a wizard dying. So he just had to spend some money to replace it.
Poor bird.
It was a poor bird, but, you know, that's what took the hit. He also rolled a lot shittier on those D4s. So, I think he rolled a lot shittier, and the two people that failed were someone that made their... the two people that were affected were one person that made their save, and then a person that failed their save and they had their familiar take it for them. And that was it. And also, even if they had someone else fail, they had technically had a cleric with Breath of Life.
Yeah.
You know, they had someone with some kind of resurrection, which the battle was hard. I tried to taper it a little bit better to the group because we don't have resurrection. I forgot about the familiar thing that I used previously just to, like, give a bonus, you know?
Yeah.
So there were some things that, like, weren't as prevalent. But the first save everybody rolled, if it had been the death effect, 4 people would have failed it.
Yeah.
And I would have had to figure out, with the D4s I rolled, because the same spell I used also used D4s, which 3 of them would have died. If, instead, they had got secondary saves against a fear effect, in which one was immune, you know, one made it with it being the original save instead of a fortitude save versus death, and the other 2, which was you, Momo, and another of our players, failed it and had to run away the entire battle.
I will say, if I had rolled better, that boss probably would not have lasted 3 rounds. I probably would have been able to just immediately delete him. However, I failed the saves and had to just run from combat. So, I mean, I'm personally fine with this happening. Like, I am okay with sitting out for an hour and a half because it lets me do some other stuff. I got a bunch of bookkeeping for other games done that night. I got some stuff I needed to do done. But yeah, I would have just been dead if it was just a normal fight, because I rolled so badly. I would have just Olivia would have just died.
And the thing is, like, for me in that same situation, I have been in those situations where you're forced to be, like, sit out stuff, and, like, it feels bad, but if you can do something else on the side, it's not as bad. And I think
I did prep for I did prep buying for tonight's game. That night I went and looked through scrolls and stuff that I could buy. Yeah, like that fight would not have been as bad if I was there, because Olivia always has see invisibility or whatever prepared. That's always a prepared spell.
Yeah. So
she could have just kept pointing him out. Hey, he's over there. Go hit him.
Yeah.
But sadly, it happened. And honestly, to be honest, high-level spellcast Pathfinder, they suck. They are awful to fight, especially necromancers.
Necromancers, because they have just such...
Because necromancy spells are bullshit.
Necromancy spells are dick spells. Like,
They are.
Like, that's the thing is, there's two types of necromancy spells. Awful or dick. And there's nothing in between. I was, like, looking at them, like, of the 6th level and stuff, and, like... I have to admit something, because I was trying to balance out his stuff. Because I was like, well, instant death effect's pretty bad. Running away sucks, but it's not so bad. So that's why I'm like, I'm gonna give him one 7th level spell he doesn't normally have, just because it's the only, like, and it's like the waves of fatigue. Because I'm like, well, negatives to everybody's stats will make it that, like, you know, maybe I should just use that. I'm gonna be honest. Maybe I should just use that. Made everybody fatigued. Their stats would have been fucked up. It would have made people harder to do stuff. That might have been like the way to go with it. Actually,
it's just hard to predict because dice rolls are involved.
Yeah, but I was like the one would, I'll do some damage and maybe it'll have like one of them run away, and I didn't even think about maybe someone has something against that. You know, I didn't even think about that as something to, like, you know, be like, oh, hey, maybe we should have someone with something against fear or something, you know?
And I will say this about Carrying Crown. Outside of that counter, kind of a scuffed game to begin with because we made kind of bad characters. And then we had to swap out a lot of characters.
Bad characters, swaps out, and the unfortunate thing is with the nature of Carrying Crown,
with the way the story is set up, because it establishes plot too early.
Yeah, it's the earlier fights or the earlier adventures tend to be pretty the worst ones, unfortunately. I think, out of comparing them all. Like, as I said, my ranking for the adventures from top to bottom was, I felt like 5 and 4 were 5 and 1 kind of at the top. I liked both. I liked 5 just because it has an interesting plot. It relates to the main plot, and it's sort of like, you know, we're trying to get some help from some vampires who are against the evil cult we're against, and we do something for them, they help us out. You know, so it sounds side questy, but it's really like, you know, you're doing a favor for them, helping them out, etc. You know, interesting story. First one, I do really like Harrowstone. Harrowstone.
I also liked Harrowstone. I
feel like it's a little slow at first, just because I've always had some issues with the pacing of, like, the research shit and stuff like that. You know.
Amusingly, the game I was a player in, we had issues with it being too slow. In the game I'm running where I used Harrowstone, I had issues with it being too fast.
That's interesting. So I guess it could go technically either way. You just don't know.
Because it's dependent on how people roll.
Yeah, it really is dependent on how people roll. And it's like the rolls are difficult, but if if a couple people get really lucky very quickly, then they'll get it just like that. You know,
like I think when we were learning about the Whispering Way, Jess's character rolled like max on, like, bypassed for the max information.
Yeah.
So we learned everything about that on day 1.
Yeah.
And then it was just kind of the trickle downward of middling rolls, things like that.
It's like the important things about, like, it's like the Whispering Way stuff, pretty good. But, like, the important stuff was to learn some things about Harrowstone that will be like, oh, hey, maybe something's going on with Harrowstone and, like, ghosts and shit and things like that, you know? And that stuff just didn't come up for you, you know?
No, unfortunately not.
And that slowed it down. The actual dungeon part, I thought was great.
The dungeon went mostly fine. There's
a couple of issues here and there. But
issues. The player character running away definitely didn't help.
But pre-made adventures always problems.
Pre-made adventures a problem. And also, like, I should have just made, like, a paladin or something, like I was going to.
Honestly speaking, like, I always like to say that Pathfinder can be played with any team, and technically your team could have worked, but, like, certain teams take a lot more work.
Yeah.
Yours did, and there was a lot of character issues, like the one running away from the final boss, who would have really helped to have been there.
Yeah.
Because they could have taken out... Because if they were actually using proper weapons, even if they were using their normal weapon, they could have taken out the add-ons and saved people who didn't have to worry about the add-ons, who could have actually targeted the boss.
My character is splitting focus on range and melee. That's a word. Yes, brain. Please work today for once.
Being a druid ranger instead of a hunter. Umber's build not being a great build for this entire thing.
I'll be honest. I maintain Umber should not have picked that class because that class is too much for a brand new player.
Yeah, Magus is incredibly complex. It's the unfortunate thing, and like it's much better for an experienced player who kind of like learns some of the tricks in and outs of it. Unfortunately, Lightning's Oracle build was not a great build.
Unfortunate.
It's not like it couldn't work, but I feel like it wasn't working in the campaign, and then there was some issues that had gone on with, you know, like communication problems and stuff, which I should have nipped in the bud right away.
Yeah, I mean, Ling was I liked Ling, but it just, the class and build didn't work for the campaign, and a lot of ours didn't. Most of our problems could have probably been solved if we had a paladin or a cleric.
Like, a witch does okay in this campaign.
That's just built a standard witch.
And that's good, but it works okay in this campaign. Yeah. It's terrible in the first adventure. But overall, in most of the campaign, it does okay, which has enough like utility abilities and interesting abilities that they usually work okay. You know, so like, and then we had a bard for like a session or two, and then
we had the bard for 2 sessions. And that was it.
So we started 6 characters. We went down to 5 really quickly.
We went down to 4.
We went down to 4.
Then we went down to 4, and then the next session we were down to 3 because Jess started having the issues.
But Jess was still around.
Jess was still around at that time
for a good chunk of the second adventure here and there.
Yeah,
I think by the end of the second adventure, that's really when we completely lost her.
Yeah, when it got to adventure 3, which I maintain is just bad.
Oh, that's my bottom of my list.
It's terrible.
That's number 6. That's the bottom of my list. Yeah.
It's just such a weird mix, and it doesn't flow well.
Yeah.
That's where our issues really came up.
Yeah. Quickly going back to rating them, I think it was like 5-1, kind of tied. Then 4, because 4 is really a side story that really is an add-on, but I really like it.
4's the Lovecraft stuff, right?
Yeah, the 4's the Lovecraft stuff. It's really cool. I thought it was pretty well written. It's just the fact is it's kind of a side story.
It's weird to be there.
Yeah. The final one, 6, just because it's high-level undead stuff, so there's a lot of like things that are very like murdery.
You die.
Yeah.
You don't really get to save.
And that's an issue, you know, in general. Or like things like there's a chance of fighting a banshee, and banshees do like 15d6 damage per attack to everyone, and they could do that every like 1d4 rounds. So it's sort of like, wow, yeah, those things murder the shit out of you.
They still suck in 5e, by the way.
Yeah, granted, you're 15th level characters in the CR 15, but they suck.
Yeah, they still suck.
Yeah. And then I kind of put 2 and then 3 at the bottom. 3 is just awful. And so 2 has its issues. I think like things like the final dungeon's poorly built. I
think the final dungeon is too small.
Yeah, it's too small.
It's like too compact for what they want you to fight.
The pacing of the entire trial is kind of like a hit and miss, and it's very hard to manage. And like what they want you to do is kind of all over the place. You know, and where our campaign for doing it, we gained 1 person, we gained an NPC, I put it that time, right? Then we gained a person to replace the NPC, then we lost a person, so the NPC came back, and then we technically lost to Jess and went back down to like 4 players, which we had 4 players throughout the rest of the thing until we got to the last part, and we got a 5th player again. Yeah,
and that's something I will go back to. Circling back to endings, losing players is a campaign killer. No matter if you get them back, if you get others to replace, it is always going to hurt the campaign, and it can be a killer.
Yeah. It's hard for it not to be.
Especially in a plot-involved story.
Yeah. It's the unfortunate thing that, like I can look at... It's the unfortunate thing that Carrion Crown is a very death-heavy campaign, but it's the unfortunate thing that when you look at it, it's so story-driven, it doesn't want death. Like, something like Skulls and Shackles, you know,
you could die early on in Skulls and Shackles. Like, you could probably die in the midpoint in Skulls and Shackles. Oh, you're just another pirate guy. Come here.
Yeah, you just recruit a new pirate to help you out, you know, and you could have an entire pirate backstory that, you know, like, you put in there that makes sense for being a pirate, you know, and you're like, you can become an integral part of the crew very easily then, you know, like, maybe you want a few people from the original group to be there.
Just maintain that original plot.
Yeah. But, again, a lot of the plot is, like, we're becoming pirates, and then we're just, you know, like if as soon as if you join the boat and we're like, oh hey, yeah, we're being menaced by that boat and we're trying to get them off of our case. It's like, oh, okay, good. Hey, I'm in on that. I don't like them menacing us. I don't know them, but don't like them menacing us.
I don't know them, but I like this boat and I like the people on it.
Yeah, so I'll help you make sure they're not going to menace you anymore. Or like the original Rise of the Rune Lords. Like, granted, like it's a little harder because you're the original heroes of it and stuff too, but I could see someone coming in, being involved with one of the stories, because again, like the first like 3 or 4 stories are kind of a little standalone. So like, it could be someone that's involved in like, oh hey, this thing's going on here, and then like when you meet the characters, they're like, oh yeah, by the way, this like group is behind it all, and you're like, damn, maybe I should help you out, because they just did this thing to me.
With those mildly connected but still like disconnected like adventure segments, you could also introduce the character as a plot character. Someone who's like, they'll supply you with the basic information and then be like, I want to tag along and help deal with this. So I have done that before when I've lost people.
Yeah.
Can't really do that in Carrion Crown.
Carrion Crown was way too difficult. Like, I think, like, there was a second where I was able to, like, kind of help it, and it was the first replacement character, the NPC. I was able to kind of be like, oh, hey, they missed the funeral and stuff, but they came and met with you kind of thing. So they still have some of that connection. But by the time we were getting into Manacle, we're already beyond that kind of thing. And
I really still don't know why Manacle was there. I don't know if I blanked out like mentally during that session. I never figured out why Manacle was there.
Don't really remember the exact reasoning too behind Manacle kind of thing. It was Manacle was there.
Yeah, Manacle just wanted to punch the ghost or something. I don't know.
I think that Manacle was recruited for some reason, and I'm forgetting why. Honestly,
I genuinely no idea.
Because it was at that point in time, I'm like, I got no idea. I'm just gonna kind of like wing it, kind of in there. And that's exactly what I did. I was just like, you're there, congratulations, you've got a new player. And I just, because I wasn't getting a lot out of the player, because the player was a very new person, which is, the unfortunate thing is, they're one of the other people that ran away, and I feel bad for them, because, like, for me and you, we're used to those sort of things.
We're old players, we're used to dumb things happening.
But I also know that I brain-wise can analyze that that's not good. That's not good. You don't really want that. So I understand, like, how, like, older games, it happens. You get used to that shit happening. You don't like it, but
build up some of a tolerance. So you're like, whatever.
Yeah. This, if you like give an example, like Umber, who really is 5th edition person.
Yeah.
5th edition has stuff like that. You don't encounter stuff like that.
5th edition likes its players.
Yeah.
It doesn't want you to die. It really doesn't want you to die. And then something like Pathfinder is very much, death is at all level it's a thing that can happen.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, once you get higher level, you start getting more instant death effects. Yeah,
I feel like they have a lot more counters to it than, let's say, like 3rd edition did. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the thing that happened.
I mean, I was gonna find one. I was getting told, seeing if my spell still worked wasn't important.
Yeah, that was. I can give context to that.
Okay.
In DMs.
Okay, because I would like a context for that one, because I'm a little kid. I think I understand the language, but I'm like brain not working well. So, usual. But I think the entire thing was sort of like,
Oh yeah, I could use that. Well, I posted it there, whatever.
Yeah, you posted somewhere I could see.
It's in your DMs.
It's in my DMs. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was a thing that happened. That was
yeah. That was kind of like weird, and I had to try to understand that one more. I think that was understanding the spell more. which
That's a weird spell.
I liked the spell, but like it was one of those things that like it's the unfortunate thing that like it was positioning and enemy knowledge was against you there, because I was like, he's gonna know spells, and I like looked and I'm like, he can move out of range just barely. That's really what it was, is he could just barely move out of range of it. And I'm like, it's like one of those things as a DM is like, well, you've got a smart enemy, he's gonna do that. Sometimes you don't want to nullify something, but like it's that strategic thing of like, it's hard to like, you know, be like, well, I'm just gonna give you open him. You want him to be like a challenge, which the fact is he kind of was, but wasn't either, because his big shtick was going invisible and just beating you down, and then he ran out of spells.
If I was there, that wouldn't have happened because I can see him. It's just dumb. It was a thing.
It was a thing.
But yeah, I mean, I'm in the camp that I think it's a good thing carrying it.
Yeah,
because I can predict it was some people are only gonna get madder at it.
Yes, I think there was definitely like, I gotta be honest, like I don't know if we would have buyers back.
No, probably not.
And then
and then even me, the entirety of the third act drained me.
Yeah.
And uninvested me. It's just bad.
I think what is happening, because like, honestly speaking, the final adventure, Carrying Crown, you know, I could take it or leave it, you know, it's fine. The fifth one, I do like it a lot, but it is very Carrying Crown invested. Mm-hmm. If I really want to do the fourth one, which is like, the only reason I don't put it higher is it's nowhere near involved in the plot kind of thing, like, you know, like Rise of the Rune Lords, where you're going off as adventurers as like this group of heroes that the town's like, oh hey, there's a problem over there, can you go look into it? Or
that's the classic tabletop.
You know, which then they have to be slightly disparate. This one where you're like, Whispering Way, disparity is kind of hard. Like if I really wanted to, maybe I'll just run the like fourth adventure on its own as its own standalone thing and just remove the Whispering Way. Just remove the Whispering Way stuff. You know,
yeah, just do it rebuild it as a one shot.
I could probably do it. I'd probably say short campaign, like a couple of weeks. Like
definitely not a one shot because it's an entire module piece.
But like that idea that like, you know, just do it on its own and just remove the Whispering Way stuff. And honestly,
higher level mini campaign
is honestly just make you have a different reason for showing up in town. That's all it needs. Like you're showing up in the town for some reason. You know, it very well could be because like you're following someone to get there in the first place. It's like, oh hey, someone reported one of their friends went missing in that area. Go check it out. That's it. Yeah. That's all it needs. And then you're there. You know, then we can do the same plot, just on its own, not connected. Like, you know, you can just be like, you're a group of established characters that, you know, work together.
A little bit famous, maybe.
You know,
some local fame.
Yeah, local famous. Build your team together. You know that you know each other, things like that, you know, and you could build a thing that you just throw it all together, you know.
We're a group of kitsune. There you go. That's the team. All kitsune. Out of place because this is not fantasy Asia. This is fantasy Romania? Question mark?
Romania-ish. Like, I'll say, Faerun's very easy to switch, you know, between Europe and not Europe. Yeah. Galarian is hard.
It's kind of weird.
They've done a good job of making their world weirder and different enough, and I'm
like about that. Next to Ustalav, there's just like kind of like horde lands.
Yeah.
Which is like that's East Asia.
Ustalav Galarian is weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's the unfortunate thing that like we got to the end of the battle and it felt terrible continuing the battle.
I was fatigued. I'll be honest. I was getting campaign fatigue hard.
I was just like, I didn't know what to do. You know, it's like it's after that first roll everything was just spiraling down because
Mhm.
it made things more difficult, and like it hurt my brain just a little bit. So there were certain things about like setup and stuff that like I just don't think were working the way I wanted them to anyway, and it just kind of threw things down the tube very quickly, you know.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate circumstances and series of events that were not ideal.
No, and already there was a lot of issues with the campaign, so
But
okay.
honestly, I do think that if it hadn't ended there, it would have just ended in a different one. And I don't think it was ever going to get to its actual conclusion.
Honestly, like maybe doing like a second edition thing, which we kind of do a little bit of on
Yeah, we
Sunday.
kind of have our second edition. Second edition it's much easier for new people.
It's easier for new people, but like I wouldn't mind running technically a better campaign for first edition. Honestly,
I still like first edition Pathfinder.
like I would love.
It was my first tabletop game.
Yeah, I gotta say, like I would honestly like to just like. Granted, I was talking about maybe doing Rise of the Rune Lords in second edition, but I would like to just do it in first edition as normal. Rise of the Rune Lords, again, like it. I feel like it again. All pre-made campaigns have their issues, but I feel like because it's just bog standard, like fantasy.
It's your bog standard. You're the hero.
Yeah. You're the hero that gets hyped up because you were the right place in the right time, and then you're the reliant group to go do stuff, and that's pretty standard and pretty easy, and it doesn't have a lot of screw up in there, kind of thing. I feel like that helps a lot. But I don't know. I have to see about Wednesday and stuff, but.
Right, though, if we do 2, I'm gonna start making some weird shit. I've looked into it. I can do some weird things.
As I said, I think we'll take a week off and then we'll talk about what we want to do.
I think that is for the best.
Just to have everybody cool down.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I will throw into Carrion Crown anybody that wants to talk about a new campaign and next week as the only thing, and then I will just have us meet an RPG players chat and then make a new one.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people in.
I think that's a good plan because I am still interested in more Pathfinder. It is the thing I have done. I'm probably gonna do the weird thing we talked about, Lightning.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm gonna be honest. I will probably do that. I sold myself on Champion.
So, what else did we do? We only had I had 2 other games, I think, entire week.
I had 2 games as well, and we're in one of those games together.
Yes, we had Lightning, who's in chat's game, who's on Saturday evenings. We
had downtime.
We kind of
had a lot of downtime.
Yeah, we had our downtime, and then we kind of moved into.
We had downtime, and we moved in. I say downtime. Some of it was planning.
Mm-hmm.
I got a fancy sword and went on a date.
Yep.
That's what my downtime was.
I probably went on some dates and
You have a kitsune in every town so far. you are mechanically a rogue, but you are role playing a bard.
I was talking about. Mm-hmm. I just want to saunter up and be like, ladies. Look, maybe I've been hanging around Mads too much.
Yeah. Parents have to start bonking you. Getting the bonk stick out.
Yep. And then we planned on murdering some kobolds because we're like, this seems to be the worst issue.
We have like 13 leveled people, a bunch of scouts, an airplane, and bombs. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, an airship. It's a tiny airship. It's not an airplane.
Yeah.
But it's a biplane.
Yeah.
Made by a gnome who may or may not be slightly unhinged.
Slightly? Slightly. Sure, we'll go for the word slightly. That's nice. Yeah. It's a thing.
We have a lot of stuff.
I think that's why we said we're going to cinematic it at the beginning of this episode and kind of move on.
Yeah, I enjoyed my downtime, fun time. and I'm looking forward to tonight. I really am.
Yes.
I actually really like Saturday.
Saturday's been very good. I mean, I think it's one of those things. At some point in character, I feel like I have to sit down and like have a.
You're gonna have to talk to Kilmer about.
Oh God, I have no idea how to bring that up. I have no idea how to bring that up.
You've seen how Kilmer has reacted to Viren. It's weird.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone has picked up on this yet, but Viren is trans.
Mm.
I don't think anyone's picked up on that, except for maybe Lightning, because we've had actual like talks where it gets brought up frequently about the changes.
Yeah, and then like it's just it's a weird situation that unfortunately it's sort of like, you know, I think it's just nowhere near, no idea how to bring it up to Kelmer, you know, and then like
I'll be honest, Kelmer will say something weird and then he'll be 100% fine with it.
Yeah, I guess it's just one of these points in time. It's like, all right, Kelmer, we might die today. I should probably tell you something really important that's been really hard to figure out a great
Kelmer will ask, "Wait, did you eat berries too?"
And I'll be like, "Oh no, I was always a woman." And it's like, oh, yeah, that'll be interesting. And then I just think, Dranther. Dranther, I feel like needs a good sit down where we can like.
Oh God, Dranther, I think needs therapy.
Yeah, because I feel like there's some issues that have gone on there that like if the longer we sit with them, the worse they've kind of got, and I feel like we need to like sit down as a group to like chat about them and stuff like that. Because
yeah, we're gonna sit down and talk about our feelings. Oh, hey, it's one of these. I haven't seen one of these in a while.
They've showed up. There we go.
Damn bots.
Yep.
Yeah, we're just gonna have a big circle and talk about our feelings.
It's like they were gone for like a long time. In the last like month, they've popped up a few times.
After our slaughter of kobolds, we're gonna talk about feelings.
Mm-hmm. Then maybe Dranther will feel a little better because the kobolds will all be dead, and then we can talk about how like something like I could be like, hey, Dranther, just because I'm young, show me some respect sometimes and let my opinion go. Just because I don't have a lot of experience, I will respect your decisions, but I would like for my opinions to actually be taken into account.
Yeah. That's Saturday. Saturday can be is chaos. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of chaos. Some of it's my fault. Yep. Most of it's my fault.
Mm-hmm. Didn't have Sunday, so that's going to be, unfortunately, it's every other week's a missing one. It's a long time in between. Didn't have records. Did have Pathfinder 2e where we disabled.
Oh no!
What
did you do?
Well,
we did have the other 2e.
Oh, we did have the other 2e game where
right, that's what happened.
Okay.
So I'm gonna paint you all a picture right now, right? Mm-hmm. We're hunting for like a treasure map, and there's some bandits who have it, and we're gonna try to lure them in. Mm-hmm. And then our elf was like, our elf witch, I think he's playing witch.
Yeah.
Is like, all right, well, I'll go to this kind of like open market and do some tarot readings and advertise that I have a map. And Cell rolled really badly. It gave some really bad readings, but one person was really into it. We'll get back to why that's important later. So then we set up then Kib spread some rumors that, hey, there's a map, got called a cop by a kid, and I can't really lie, Kib is a cop.
Yep.
Kib is a kobold cop. And the rumors got spread, and they were like, all right, we'll set this trap. And then we didn't tell the elf that, hey, there's people here looking at you. So they went upstairs, and then they got followed, and then they got a bag put over their head, and then beats. Well, we're fighting two people downstairs. One guy got like a spell cast on him, and he got like mega depressed.
Yeah, so he's just like, I'm gonna leave. I'm so depressed. He critically failed that too. It was just like, wow, man.
Our human fighter got the shit kicked out of him. And then we get upstairs and we stop it, only to find out not the bandits with the map.
Nope. It was the lady who was interested in him, who, because he scorned her, decided to kidnap him. And you learn some like very interesting things about her that are like,
apparently Kib knows a lot about her.
Yeah.
She rolled a nat 20.
Yeah. You knew all the. You're like, oh, I've heard of that person. I know these things that she does that are probably highly
Kid
illegal.
knows a weird amount of things.
But yeah, no, the elf almost got kidnapped by by things that were not related to the plot.
No, he's gonna get beat up by some bandits who want a map.
Yeah, this has been a great night, you know. Oh, that was very silly. I really was happy when you just let it happen a lot. I was just like, they're just there to kidnap him. That's what they're there for. Yep. And then my Pathfinder 2e, I continued to annoy my DM by being like, lizard folk. So I'm like, I'm gonna dig around the base of something with my claws so we can knock it over. Yeah, there you go, because I've got claws.
You got lizard claws.
Or like, I'm gonna go swimming for fish, and like, I go kept fishing that way because I could hold my breath for like half an hour.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I think she just like, because I cast, I have a spell that like I can make 6 knowledge checks with 1 action.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So it's sort of like I make 6 lore checks. So I was like, I'm gonna roll this, and I ran out of lore checks I could actually roll, and I'm like, well, I guess that was like 5 of them. Damn it. I don't know. I don't have anything else that would roll related to this, you know? It was like Arcana, Nature, Occult, Bardic Lore. Oh, hey, Elven, because this is near some elf territory. There you go. I ran out. I may have known everything about that thing, and then I also like cast another spell to like read an item after it like later on to like get images, because she like object reading. I love that spell. I do all this weird shit that I'm like, I'm not very useful in combat, but when it comes to weird shit out of combat, I can do a lot of that. That's the bard I built.
Nice.
Yeah, we disabled 2 more of these weird dragon head statue things that are like evil and stuff. Yeah, we did that. I think we were still in the middle of fighting. Oh my god, that's right. We were fighting small gremlins who have the ability to swallow medium-sized creatures whole.
Oh my god.
They're like ridiculous sounding. They're like, yes, they have the ability to like just like romp, like, you know, just things. It's like, god, it's terrible little gremlins that just like, they're like a bad horror movie. They like swallow you whole. Yeah, I think we haven't murdered them yet. I think that's where we left off.
Soon.
She also complained because I keep summoning a leprechaun to help us.
Nice.
Because I'm like, I can summon Fae. Leprechaun! Seamus, come to our aid! I just have him, like, do stuff. I'm like, hey, Seamus, can you, like, summon this for me? I never do it in combat. I'm just like, hey, Seamus, can you, like, use this? I think I summoned a Grig to have, like, a fiddling contest with or something.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like that.
I just keep doing all this shit. I love doing it. I'm like, oh, we need to do a musical thing. Grig, come to my aid so we can do music.
Oh my god. I love that.
Yeah. It's my favorite thing to do, and it's wonderful. And I'm just saying, wonderful. I think that's the only other game I had other than Carrying Crown.
I had my game that I run. Ooh. Oh boy. Oh boy. So remember how the warlock had stolen a powerful artifact and gave it to his patron?
Yes.
So the consequences of that have finally come up.
Ooh.
3 very powerful inquisitors cornered him in a bar and were like, you should come with us. We're not going to start a fight. Just come peacefully. And he argued about it and then said, and I quote, "This is not a confession. I class fog cloud and run."
What?
To these 3 high-level inquisitors, after arguing, when he really should have just went peacefully, he says, "Well, this is not a confession," and then to me he's like, and then he casts fog cloud, and then runs. And he jumps out, he misty steps out of a window into another building.
Wow. It's like,
it's
look, this is not a confession. Oh, yikes!
It's not where it ends.
Oh, great.
He continues to try to run and escape from the city. And at this point, I'm like, I could just do you want a new character sheet? That's something. All right, I'll get you. I'll start prepping stuff to roll a new character. But he's like, no, I'm gonna go stay at a different inn in the shanty town that is still within the city that the Inquisitors are hunting me in. And then they just use look because they got a good look at him. They're just like, okay, we have magic. We'll just use locate person to find him. And they found him and cornered him again. And he tries it again, but this time they left someone outside, and they cast that spell that puts you in like a hamster ball. So he got hamster balled and rolled to prison.
God, okay.
And then a deal was struck of, right, you've lost us this very powerful artifact. Go get us something even more powerful because they know of others that exist. They don't want to do it because they don't want to die. So they're just going to like, if you die, you die. We don't care. And then they cast that spell that is like, if you don't do this specific command, it's going to kill you.
It's
so
like
he has to do it
yeah.
now. Yeah. Or he takes like 10 d8 psychic damage and dies.
Oh, that's, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So now he's forced into doing it.
Oh boy.
And then they traveled on an airship that was quite speedy. Traveled a bit, fought some exploding zombies, and then some whites, and then rested. And now they're gonna maybe go fight something else. Yeah, it is 5d10 per day if you do not follow the order. It will kill him.
Oh god, yeah.
Oh yeah, lightning made me proud and upset. Of lightning, so lightning has a rifle, right? A modern, kind of like a modern-ish firearm because it's an Aberron-ish setting.
Yeah.
Lightning was like, all right, I'm gonna go set up a little bit further away, and then told the party, give me 10 minutes, cast silence in an area around themselves, and just shot their gun without making any noise. And that actually impressed me. And yep, it was a lot of sneak attacks that went off because they are one level of rogue.
Yep.
Yep.
That sounds like a good time was had by all.
Oh, it's so funny. Oh yeah, you also have sharpshooter.
Man.
So you can just max range snipe people.
See, like, I was hoping originally when we were doing Carrying Crown we'd have some crazy crap like this and stuff. And it sounded like we were going to for very first, but...
Unfortunately, it didn't work out.
No,
don't worry, when we do Rune Lords, I'll make something real weird.
I definitely would like to do Rise of the Rune Lords in some way, and I think maybe...
My plan, I will tell you, is a champion who's built on intimidating people into submission. That is my plan.
But I'm about to take a look, yeah, because like the thing is, I was also looking at like the second edition adventure paths, and I'm doing one of them, so I don't want to do that one, and the other ones are just like, I don't know if the other ones really stand out as like really interesting enough for me. Is the weird thing. They're not.
I don't know any of the 2E adventures.
The two, I think I'm playing the Extinction Curse.
Adventure Paths for Pathfinder, and then Paizo has a thing for it.
Yeah, because the last one...
There's just the Ruby Phoenix, I forgot that exists.
The last one that was done, I think, was Tyrant's Grasp, was the last one that was first edition, because that was the Return of the Whispering Tyrant, actually. I'm doing Ashes to Ashes, Ashes of Ashes. Oh, because that's the Mysterious Fire and the Hell Knight Citadel and the thing about the weird dragon shit. So there's, Extinction Curse, Agents of Edgewater, and like the Edgewatch one is like is a weird one because it's like your guards dealing with like guard shit, like serial killers, bank robbers, and criminals.
That could be fun. But I don't know if it sticks out.
Yeah,
it might be a little weird to roleplay.
And Extinction Curse is ones you start out as members of a circus.
Fair.
And then Abomination Vaults is a mega dungeon.
And then there's Fist of the Ruby Phoenix, so I don't think is out yet.
No,
I don't know if it's out yet.
I think the first one might technically be out. It might be out now. It's not out on this thing.
It's got 3 parts apparently listed here, but I don't know how many of these are actually like released.
The one that starts in July apparently is about a magic school.
Ooh. Harry Potter, but not
I mean, like, they probably have their own magic schools already established and stuff like that.
Oh,
no, like, and I think the Extinction Curse and Agents of Edgewatch are each 3 parts, and so, like, the Mage School might be 3 parts or something, or maybe, like, Abomination Vaults and Ruby Phoenix, Fist of the Rubies is 3 parts, because Abomination Vaults is just a mega dungeon, so I would understand if that was just 3 parts,
That one is 3 parts.
Yeah.
It looks like Extinction Curse is 6 parts.
Extinction Curse is 6 parts. Oh, and Agents of Edgewatch was 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 6 parts also.
Yep.
Man, and you're just really like cops the entire time as Agents of Edgewatch.
Hey, I can make Kib.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
I could just play Kib again.
It's like only one member of the fiendish Twilight Four remains. Yeah, you're like, we've taken down all the other criminal masterminds. Only one remains for the final adventure. God, you're just cops the entire time.
Yeah, are just cops. All right.
Yeah. I mean, like, as much as I would like Tyrant's Grasp, it's like it's just too ridiculously like over the top, like epic.
Fair.
Some of these feel that way, unfortunately, but
I think Ruin Lord would be just a good one because it's your basic adventure.
Yeah, I mean, like, there is a little bit of like over the top, like ness at the back end, but it's basically the end of it is because it's Rise of Ruin Lords. It's, hey, we have to prevent a Ruin Lord from being resurrected.
I'm so shocked.
We do that. Great.
We're heroes now, I guess.
Yeah, we're epic heroes. Great. Whee!
Hooray!
Anyway, yeah. So, is there anything else? I don't think there's anything else.
I wasn't doing anything else.
We could have done a Kickstarter, but I don't feel like it now.
I hadn't found a Kickstarter. I looked, I didn't see anything.
I was gonna look again just for something, but I'm like, yeah. There's some. Go check out Kickstarter. There's probably some good RPG related.
There's usually something there.
Probably at least a board game or RPG related thing that's really good.
There's probably another video game and/or movie related board game.
Mm-hmm. There are a lot of those. That was one thing I did see. They're already doing an expansion for that Horizon Zero Dawn board game we talked about.
It's not even out. It's not even out yet.
They were talking about it.
Oh my god.
They're like, hey, we're also now going to do an expansion on it.
Oh, yeah, or there's another Monopoly board. There's always a Monopoly
There's always a Monopoly board. You want that in Monopoly? We got that. I mean, that's... As soon as we say that and it happens like Kickstarter, we just see like USAopoly walk up and be like, hold my beer.
Here's another Monopoly board.
You know what you need? You need, what's the stupidest thing I could think of?
You can do it.
I can't think of anything really dumb. What's a dumb TV show that I hate, I hate?
Nothing quite beats SpongeBob. Monopoly.
Yeah, SpongeBob Monopoly. That's pretty up there. I don't know. Like, let's go classic. All the Nicktoons. The various Nicktoons Monopolies. There you go.
Oh my god.
So now you can have Original Doug, Rugrats, Cat Dog, Angry Beavers. I'm missing a lot of them in here. Real
There's so many. There's too many.
I'm probably not remembering a lot of them at the moment. But yeah, there you go. They're all Monopoly. All the time.
Everything is Monopoly.
Oh, and a few of them are Clue.
Yeah, I mean... Monopoly and Clue are the centerpieces of the board game, really.
Yeah. Anyway. Alright. I think that was a good day. We talked about...
Yeah.
We had a good discussion on how, like, game endings... the thing is, like, if your game has to end...
It's better... If it has to end, it's better that it ends rather than continuing on to spiral into disappointment and anger.
Yeah. And, if there's problems with your games and you... It's best to end it before things get worse. If it has to end because of, you get to the end of the story, great. If it has to end because of changes in life, come up with some kind of end for
it
people.
Happens. Make something satisfying-ish.
Yeah, try to at least. Sometimes you're not informed or, don't try to skip over like 4 months and then come back to it unless you do that already because you're not coming back to it.
No, after a certain point, there's no going back.
Yeah.
The campaign is dead after months.
Like you have to build like if you do story arcs and build in like those have breaks in between them, then you might be able to work it. Only then maybe you can work it, because you're building in. Oh, there was an ending. We can come back and visit these people some other time.
Yeah.
But that's a different type of game that I haven't even started yet, but I've been planning on trying to do one of. So, anyway, thank you, Momo, for joining me.
Yeah.
Thank you for Lightning for sassing us in chat.
Always welcome to get sassed by Lightning.
Sassed. I hope everybody has a great rest of your weekend. I'm probably not doing anything tomorrow because I'm going to be honest. A good chunk of my day is going to be busy, and the rest of it I'm not sure on. You know, I already have a bunch of things to do tomorrow. So if I do find some time, I might stream. If not, records Monday, 2 p.m. EST. Momo and I will hopefully have the finale with.
Yeah, hopefully we can finally wrap a nice little bow on that story.
Yeah, hopefully. So, see people tomorrow, and oh yeah, I'll let people know. I'll let people know about Pathfinder Second Edition tomorrow. I'm going to figure that out. My timing for it, because I at least have one thing I'm doing with the family, and I might be doing something else in the evening, and that might kind of activate my schedule. So I'm not sure.
Tomorrow might be iffy for me because I have to drop off some paperwork for job stuff.
It ended up what we were doing something that was related to my brother's birthday that was earlier in the week, but now it's also becoming also a Father's Day thing, because we forgot it was Father's Day, and we were planning this earlier in the week. We're like, oh, people are so busy. Let's do something on Sunday. And they're like, oh, it's Father's Day. I guess we can do Father's Day thing too. Yeah, we can do that. You know, we can combine them. Anyway, but bye for now. Have a great rest of your day. Blah, blah, blah. Weekend, etc. If I don't see you on anything. So, farewell, folks.
See ya.